Sometimes a single refusal can echo in the mind forever, a decision we spend the rest of our lives wishing we could take back. Just to say, okay, come home, I'll get you a ticket right now. This is the story of Judy Gifford, a 14-year-old girl who once begged to return to the place she called home, but no one listened. Just days later, she vanished, and when her body was found near the shore of Lake Merced in San Francisco, she was already gone. No one knew who she was. No one came looking. She became a Jane Doe, an empty name on a coroner's list. It wasn't until more than 40 years later, thanks to DNA technology, that Judy was finally identified by her real name. But her killer, still just a shadow, lost in the fog of 1976. Judy was born in South Korea on January 31st, 1962. Her birth name was Judy Ann Shin. Her parents divorced that same year, before Judy was even old enough to say mom or dad. In 1963, her father, an American, decided to bring her to Hawaii, starting a new chapter in their lives. But before long, he enlisted in the US Army and was deployed to Vietnam during the war. As a young soldier heading off to war with a baby he couldn't take with him, his only option was to entrust Judy to relatives. That's when her aunt and uncle in New Jersey stepped in. They legally adopted her, changed her name to Judy Gifford, and promised her father they would care for her until he got his life in order and could bring her home. Under the care of her aunt and uncle in New Jersey, Judy grew up like any typical American child. She went to school, played, and lived in a relatively stable world, a kind of stability her early childhood had rarely known. But like so many families, tragedy eventually found its way in. In 1974, Judy's uncle, the man she saw as a father, passed away. Things slowly began to unravel. The loss, combined with the struggles of adolescence and a growing sense of confusion about her identity, caused Judy to act out. She started skipping school, getting into trouble, her grades fell, and she had her first run-ins with the law. Troubling signs, but ones that are sadly understandable for a child who had been separated from her biological parents and never truly found a permanent sense of belonging. Perhaps out of exhaustion, or believing it was time for Judy to reconnect with her roots, her aunt made a decision she would regret for the rest of her life. She sent Judy back to live with her biological father and his new family in California. It was the middle of 1976. Judy's father had since remarried and had 2 more children. Maybe he was ready to welcome Judy back. But the real question is, was Judy truly welcomed? We don't know exactly what happened inside that house. All we do know is that not long after, Judy made a tearful phone call to her aunt, begging to come back to New Jersey. But this time, there was no comforting hug, no return ticket, only a single sentence from the woman Judy had always called Mom. You need to learn to love your real father. That was the last phone call. No one ever saw Judy again. On October 1st, 1976, just weeks after that heartbreaking phone call, the body of a young girl was discovered near the shore of Lake Merced in San Francisco. She had been strangled to death. There were no signs of sexual assault. Her clothes were intact. She carried no identification. No one came forward to claim her. No missing person report matched her description. No leads, no answers. She was classified as a Jane Doe, a nameless girl with no known family, forgotten by the very world she once lived in. Years passed. The case grew cold and slipped into the files. Judy was missing, but she had no clear record. Back then, there was no centralized federal database like we have today. She became a puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere. But then, in 2019, during a wave of breakthroughs in DNA identification technology, a new glimmer of hope emerged. Thanks to the work of forensic experts and genetic genealogy databases, Judy Gifford was finally identified. A DNA sample from her half-brother, who had never forgotten his sister, matched the unidentified remains found decades earlier at Lake Merced. Judy had her name back. But a name isn't enough. Who killed her, and why? Many questions have been asked, but there are still no answers. Was it someone from her father's household who hurt her? Did Judy run away, only to be caught by a stranger and become the victim of a random killing? Was there a connection that was never explored, simply because no missing person report was ever filed for her? We don't know. All we do know is that this 14-year-old girl died alone. And in silence, Judy's half-brother recalled that her aunt never forgave herself. For the rest of her life, she lived with guilt and regret. I just wish that when Judy called and begged to come back, I had said, "Okay, come home, I'll buy the plane ticket right now." Judy Gifford, born in 1962, died in 1976. Her identity finally confirmed in 2019. Her story is a powerful reminder that behind every Jane Doe is a real person, with a family, emotions, and wounds that never had the chance to heal. If you lived in San Francisco in 1976, if you know anything about Judy, if you have any piece of the puzzle, no matter how small, please come forward. Justice may be delayed, but it's never too late. You've been listening to Whispers in the Dark, where we tell the stories that never found an ending. Thank you for walking with Judy on her final journey.